This is the Tech Podcast Network. If it's tech, it's here.
Hey everybody, Jeffrey Powers here, and welcome to another episode of Geek Smack, episode number 281, chock full of problems left and right. I'm going to talk about that, talk about why we're not doing it live on YouTube this week, the 6th anniversary of Geekazine, and so much more. This is Geekazine and Geek Smack, and hopefully I've got this all done. I'm actually using different software. So let's get this smack out of you, and let's geek out. Hey everybody, Jeffrey Powers here. Welcome to Geek Smack, the show where we smack the geek out of you like the FAA, not the FFA, the FAA smacks the geek out of your devices, now letting you use them. We're going to talk about that a little bit later on today. We've got a lot of great news, a lot of great information. The biggest problem, or the biggest thing that happened was I updated to Mavericks on my MacBook Pro. And which was great. I really enjoy Mavericks. There are some bugs that need to be worked out, and Apple is working them out. But the biggest problem is the software that I use to actually record the show, which is Wirecast, has a major bug to it. And they say, do not update Mavericks. And of course, they said that after I updated Mavericks. But I had to update Mavericks anyway, because there was another piece of software that I needed to run, and they said update to Mavericks and it'll work perfectly, and it worked great. And it's like, okay, so now I can't record my video. Well, at this same time, I was reviewing something from another company called Boinks TV, and I said, hey, I do a live show. Do you have that Boinks TV software? And they said, yeah, let's get you hooked up so you can check it out and test it out. So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, geeks of all ages, I am actually using the Boinks TV software today to run through it. And I had to set it up. I was setting it up. I was trying to figure this and that and the other thing. And I was having problem after problem here. Not by any means that it would have, the bad problems. It's just, I need more time to actually set it up and figure it all out. But I was under the gun because something else happened to me today that I was really excited about, and we're going to talk about that later on in the show. Really quick, since there's no live vlog over on YouTube, just so you know, 6 years ago, Geekazine started the website, and I was on November 7th of 2007. I hit the go button on Geekazine, and Geekazine started. So I'm really excited about that. 6 years later, Geekazine, we've had 281 episodes of Geek Smack. Day in Tech History came out of that. iPad 365 came out of that. How to Record Podcasts came out of that. And, of course, some new stuff that's coming down the way. Can't talk about it just yet, but you've seen kind of stuff, ideas as to what I'm putting into thought here. I'm going to flash up the lower third here to try out this software. So that's how you can get a hold of me as Geekazine. Think Magazine, put in a Geekazine at gmail.com. And then, of course, the hotline 608-205-4378. We've got a lot of great stuff here. Last Tuesday, I actually spoke at UW Platteville, which was a lot of fun, and I really enjoyed it. And I learned a lot because they also had entrepreneurs there. It was the Entrepreneurs Club that actually brought me to the event, and I was really happy about that, and really excited to see how that they worked that through. But we got the video. They actually recorded it. They're sending me a DVD copy, which I then have to remember how to convert DVD back into video, which I can then put up on YouTube, and I'll put that up there. It was basically called The Power of Glass, and had a lot of fun with that. Was an awesome time learning about all of that. Last night's Twig, This Week in Google Glass, really quick. It was awesome. We had Chris pick on. He got his brand new pair of Google Glass. It was the second iteration, version 2 of Google Glass, and he showed it off for us, and it was really exciting. We noticed that it looked exactly the same, and we're kind of confused how prescriptions are going to play into this. But from that, we tried to do our best and tried to figure that all out. So you can check that out over at twig.tv, twigg.tv, or thisweekingoogleglass.com. The iPad 365 was nominated for a podcast award, which is really exciting. So if you go over to podcastawards.com and look in the best video category, you will see iPad 365. It's right above iPad Today. So make sure that you choose iPad 365 over iPad Today. I mean, if vote for the one that you really want, but iPad 365 is right there. Didn't even know about it. Didn't know about it until somebody pointed it out. So I'm really happy about that. All right. And of course, did you see the Habitat for Humanity Ford F-150 video? I got a link in the show notes and I'm going to show it here. Okay, here's what's going to happen. This is going to be a little bit weird because I haven't figured out the chroma key options in Boink's TV yet. And there is no way to actually show the screen of the other computer. So we're not going to have that. But let's get into your Tech Smack news for this week. All right, and we're going to start over at Mashable.com. Google announces a live video tutorials called Helpouts. Now, this is where the other exciting part of the news comes in. I was on the phone or on the Hangout with Helpouts about an hour ago with, I believe her name was Nicole, and she basically helped me through setting up a Helpout, and I've got the first leg of the help out done. I'm going to talk with her tomorrow morning at about 10 o'clock. And if everything works, you will see me on Helpouts as a podcast coach. But Google has built a new way for you to get people to help you with problems. Like maybe you're a coder and you're just trying to figure out, how do I do this? So you set up a help out. It's a charge. It's just basically a pay to get somebody to help you out, whether it be something in technology, whether it be something in, I don't know, cooking, maybe some healthcare issues or something like that. Go see a doctor for $10. Hey, what's this rash on my hand? And they'll go say, go see a doctor. But there's lots of different categories that they're setting up there. With Helpouts, you'll be able to call on that. And of course, I'm hoping by tomorrow I'll be on Helpouts as well as a podcast coach. So if you're looking to get a good podcast coach, let me know and go from there. Of course, you can contact me. Geekazine is my Twitter handle. Geekazine@gmail.com is the email address, and 608-205-4378 is the phone number. You can always contact me, and we can talk podcasting. I do have a regular rate there. But you might find that the help out rate is a little bit better. I'm just saying. So build up my base there. So that's what's happening. That's over on Mashable if you want to read more about Helpouts and go from there. Hey, we're going to do this since everything's messed up and since this is the 6th anniversary. I'm not going to put any sponsors into this show. This show is now sponsor free, except I will talk about our TPN coverage over at tpn.tv for CES and the crowdfunding effort that we've got going, because we need your help. We're greatly behind in getting the funding that we need to cover CES. And with the crowdfund, we're really trying to get you involved and get you to be part of that. Crowdfund, the prices start at $10. You get your name and link on the backers page at tpn.tv. For $25, you get a TPN at CES t-shirt. And then, of course, everything goes up from there. If you're a podcaster, $100, a very special podcaster thing where you can be part of the live stream and go from there. And you can check that out over at tpn.tv/crowdfund. All right, with that out of the way, let's move on from here. We're going over to cnet.com. Nexus 5 has basically, the people are buying. I mean, $329 for a smartphone is pretty much unheard of, out of contract. Whereas if you've gone to Best Buy, if you've gone to Walmart, the price is $600, $700, $800. Simple as that. And so Nexus 5, $329 for 16 gigabytes, $399 for 32 gigabytes. I wish I had the cash. I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to do with my iPad because I need to get the iPad Air, but I also need to get a new smartphone. And I was thinking of the Nexus 5, and I'm waiting for a couple checks to come in. And once that happens, then I'll be able to probably cover this. But some are saying that now they're finding that if they want to get a Nexus 5, they've got to wait 3 to 4 weeks for their Nexus 5. I'm guessing that as time goes by, that will be a lot easier, and 3-4 weeks becomes only a couple days. But if you want to get yourself a Nexus 5, you better act quickly. Getting a Nexus 4 apparently is pretty easy too, because everybody's selling their Nexus 4 to buy their Nexus 5, and that's still a pretty good smartphone from what I understand. But if you want to read more on that, go over to cnet.com for that article. Moving on, we're back at CNET, and that's the same article. I double clicked it. Let's go over to Tom's Hardware. AMD Radeon R9 290. It's a full review of this, and a lot of people are saying that the R9 290 is the game changer for the gamer out there. They just have, and they were talking about that. So I decided to go over to Tom's Hardware to get a review. They're kind of lukewarm on the idea of this new graphics card. Of course, if you're a gamer, if you're not a gamer, if you don't have a desktop to add video cards to that, then this is not. You're probably not gonna care too much about it. But if you are a gamer and you want to upgrade your video graphics, you might want to check this out over at tomshardware.com. Moving on from there, we're going over to a brand new website called dslreports.com. And they're checking out they're talking about T-Mobile going IPv6 on any Android device 4.4 device. So T-Mobile has said if you've got KitKat, you're going to be IPv6. They're not going to do IPv4. There'll be connectivity. They'll be provided by a transition mechanism known as 464 XLAT. So they're switching to IPv6. I think this is great for T-Mobile. Get onto that new version. If you're not exactly sure what IPv6 is, basically IPv4 was a set of IP numbers that were running out. So when IPv6 was initiated, they found that there's no way that we'll ever run out of numbers unless we go galactic traveling and everybody hooks up to our internet, and we've got septillions of people trying to connect up to our internet. So it's just not going to happen. So that's why T-Mobile's making the move. So if you want to check out more on that, we've got this over at dslreports.com. You can check that out, and we'll have all the links in the show notes. Tell me what you think. Do you have a T-Mobile device? Are you switching up to KitKat? Let me know, and we'll go from there. My Twitter handle, once again, Geekazine @gmail.com, and of course the hotline 608-205-4378. Let's move on from here. We're going over to torrentfreak.com. Gmail is basically is rejecting a Microsoft DMCA takedown. Apparently Microsoft has they went to Google and they said, hey, mail.google.com, we want you to take that down because it's problematic. It's conflicting with some of our stuff, some of our patents and stuff like that. And Google looked at that and they go, no. But on Google's defense, on Microsoft's defense too, Google receives millions of DMCA takedowns. And Microsoft probably sends out lots of DMCA takedowns without even thinking about it. So I'm guessing that one person decided, hey, it might be fun just to kind of tell Google, hey, you got to take that thing down. So I'm guessing that this has got all resolved and stuff like that. So, but it's just really funny to see that Microsoft is kind of saying, hey, DMCA takedown, take it down now, take it. Okay. So anyway, if you want to check out more on that, go over to torrentfreak.com. I'm kind of relaxing a little bit from all the problems that we had from this spend the last hour trying to figure out what the heck I was going to do here. So And so let's move on. So we're going to go over to foxbusiness.com. Fox Business, Nokia, and Samsung are extending a patent deal. Apparently, they had a patent deal together, and with that, that was expiring today. And with that, they decided to continue on, even though Nokia is now part of Microsoft, and which is technically a competitor to Samsung. Now, it's not unusual that Samsung gives some of the technology to another company for them to build it. It's all part of how you make the most money in all reality. So if I had a widget and my competitor needed that widget, yeah, I'm going to sell them that widget because every 10 cents of what they sell comes back to me, so I'm making profit off of what they sell, and then what I sell, I make profit. That's how it works. It's like that Nexus 5. The Nexus 5 is an LG phone, and it's actually the LG G2 that's dumbed down just a little bit from what I understand. And so and the first thing I thought was, well, if Nexus 5 came out, why didn't they change to Motorola? Because Google has Motorola Mobility. But they decided to use LG. So LG makes a dime, a dollar, whatever, off of every Nexus 5. So take it for what it's worth. Everybody's out to make some money so they can survive. I'm out to make money. You're out to make money. We're all out to make money, and that's the important thing. So if you want to check this all out, go over to foxbusiness.com. We're just going to continue on. I think I've already plowed into the Geek Smack section, but since I'm running this new software, I want to figure it out. I want to try it again, but I got to figure it out a little bit more. And I got somewhat set up, so I'll be able to set it up even more and go from there. So we're going to continue on. We're going to move over to gigaom.com. JumpCam brings video editing app to Android. Now, JumpCam is this software. It's actually pretty cool. And then they had it on iOS devices. So let's say you and I go to some video concert. We load JumpCam onto our devices. At the time it was iOS. Now we can load it up on our Android devices. And you're over on this side of the concert venue. I'm over on this side of the concert venue. We can both take recordings or speech or something like that. We can both take recordings from our phones and then upload it. And then through an interface, we can put it all together and send it out to you. So now I can actually set up Android devices. I'm going to actually have to give this a try with the iPad and with my Android devices and see what I can come up with, because as a video creator, I do a lot of multi-shoot camera angle type videos, and it'd be kind of fun to see if I could actually do it using nothing but smartphones, especially today's smartphones, Nokia with their 41 megapixel camera. And now there's a new Android that's going to be coming out with a 15 megapixel camera coming out. It's exciting times for cameras inside of camera phones. So, and something like JumpCam would be pretty cool to have. Do you have JumpCam? Have you used JumpCam? Let me know, and we'll talk about it. Geekazine is my Twitter handle. Geekazine@gmail.com is the email address, and 608-205-4378 is the hotline number. Let's move on from there. We're going over to the register.com. Apparently, Western Digital is working with new forms of hard drives. And this form of hard drive is using helium-filled insides. So now then they're starting with a 6 terabyte UltraStar HE6, which has helium in them. And so I don't know if the helium, if you like... I don't know. Is it something where if it starts to leak, then you'll start talking like this or something like? I don't know. But instead of the platter spinning inside an air-filled enclosure, they rotate inside filled with helium gas, which is 14% denser than air. So that means that they can put up to 7 platters inside a 3.5-inch drive enclosure instead of the usual 5. And it'll work better. Now, this is 3.5-inch drives, so I'm guessing that laptop drives, I don't know if they can make a 2.5-inch drive or not. Maybe they can, and maybe there has to be some extra work to it. But pretty interesting stuff. If you want to read more on that, we've got a link over at theregister.co.uk. Let's move on from there. Let's go over to It's techspot.com. That's how you say it. Netflix has quietly added 4K Ultra HD test clips, and they're rolling out. They're definitely rolling out a 4K unit. Now, I'm guessing that the 4K, which is going to run at 24 frames per second, will be probably something you'll pay a little bit extra for. So instead of $8 for streaming, you'll pay $10 for 4K streaming, or whatever the price will be. And of course, you're going to need a TV that runs 4K. I mean, why get 4K streaming, and a device for that matter? I mean, I don't know if Roku will be able to handle 4K streaming. I don't know if Apple TV can handle 4K streaming. But once they figure that out, then you should be able to stream your videos or your Netflix movies and see that in high definition. And I believe that also deals with 3D compatibility for 3D videos. So pretty interesting stuff. If you want to check out more, we've got the link over at techspot.com. Moving on from there, we're going over to Mac Rumors. Really interesting stuff. Apple's implementing what's called managed distribution, their volume purchase program. Now you're saying to yourself, well, Mavericks, they just said Mavericks is absolutely free. How is there a volume purchase program? Well, it works a little bit differently when it comes to enterprise and business and education. The best part about this managed distribution is more for apps than it is for operating systems. So basically, the idea is that they put in these managed distributions, so when the kids come in with their iPads and stuff like that and their Macs, they can you can load an app on there and you can give them access. You can add their serial number or whatever. But then when you want to not allow it anymore, all you have to do is just take that out, and the next time they try to load up that software, it's not going to happen. Now, could this also be working for app developers? For instance, this the Boinks TV software, and I got the iStop Motion, which I have on the iPad and I got on the Mac. And the way that I got a serial number was basically an expirable serial number. So if this copy was to, or if my Mac was to die tomorrow and I had to reload it, I'd have to get a new serial number from them. And because it won't work to register at that point in time. So, and of course, this is a review copy, so that makes perfect sense to me. But it'd be interesting. You could actually put out a whole bunch of apps as a business. You could put out apps for companies, and you could say, okay, this person gets this, just like with a Microsoft Enterprise. This person gets access, this person gets access. Oh, we just fired this person, or they just left. We got to take them out of the system so they don't go in and use whatever apps. So interesting stuff. If you want to read more about it, go over to macrumors.com. Once again, let me know what you think. If you're an enterprise, is this going to help you, or are you going to start thinking of using Apple products and getting into the managed distribution? Geekazine is the Twitter handle, and geekazine@gmail.com. Let's move on from there. We're going to go over to venturebeat.com. You've seen a lot of third-party companies come out with create your own apps. And if you do the research online, you can figure out how to put together a website. You can figure out how to put together a Facebook app. You can figure out how to put together a iPhone or Android app. Some of them are very easy. There was one, I remember when I did iPad 365, there was this program called Codea. And it was a programming language that you used right on the iPad. And you could figure, and they even came with a little game that you could play with and mess up and then bring back to life or whatever. It was a little box game where you stacked boxes on top of each other. And and they gave you the source code so you can figure out how it worked, so you can fix it. And with today's coding options, all you have to do is take a little bit of time and really think about it. I mean, I can't put programs together. I can fix programs, but I have a hard time putting them together because my brain doesn't work that way. But maybe yours does, and you decided, well, I don't want to be a programmer. I want to be a brain surgeon or a lawyer or something else. But then you start thinking, well, I really need this app out there, and I don't want to pay $500, or I can't pay $500 to have somebody else do it. Well, maybe I'll do it myself. So that's where this article comes in. It's a very interesting article, and just the idea that there is no such thing as a nerd anymore. There's no such thing as a real geek anymore, because we're all geeks and we're all nerds, and we can cross over so easily. And that's what I like about this article. So check it out. It's over at venturebeat.com. I wish I could show you some of it, but once again, I don't have that functionality just yet. We'll work on it. So, all right, let's move on from there. Let's go over to computerworld.com. There's some mystery barges. I got this last night when we did Twig. I went up on my YouTube channel and I saw there was a comment, and the guy goes, "Can't wait to hear what you're thinking about these mystery barges." And it's like, what mystery barges? But apparently Google has 2 barges, one sitting in San Francisco, one sitting in Maine. And these barges are just, they got, the big metal boxes that you see when you watch a TV show and they're in that storage facility and stuff like that. These big metal containers. And that's basically what they're sitting, these big boats with metal containers all over them. And everybody's wondering, well, there's got to be a ton of Google Glass in there, or there's got to be a whole bunch of Nexus 5s in there or something like that. I don't think there's any technology like that in there, because if it was, then it doesn't make any sense, because they're not planning to launch Google Glass for a few months, and Nexus 5, they probably would want to get it out to the people as quick as possible. What people believe these are the actual Google stores that will be placed around the nation, so you can go pick up your Google Glass, your Nexus 5, and kind of completely surpass Best Buy's. And it'd be a brick and mortar store that sets up in a few days. And then if they decide that it's not working in that place, they can just tear it down, put it back in the container, ship it back to the barge, or do whatever they need to do with it. So that's what everybody believes is going to be in that barge. And so it's part of Google's customer support satisfaction thing that I've heard about since July, ever since I got my pair of Google Glass. So it'll be pretty interesting to see what these barges is about. It sounds about right. You can take a container and you take it to a city, and you unload that container into a store that's already ready to be set up, like an Apple store or something like that, and then you have a Google store. So, and by having it in Maine, by having it in San Francisco, I have a feeling the East and the West Coast are going to get filled with Google stores very, very soon. So we'll see what happens. But if you wanted to read more on that, go over to Computer World. What do you think? What do you think are in these barges? Let me know. Twitter me over at Geekazine, or geekazine@gmail.com, or even the hotline at 608-205-4378. All right, couple more articles. Life Hacker, make a computer monitor one that you can only see, which is actually pretty cool. You need to do a little bit of tweaking. I think you have to open up a couple things, but to the naked eye, it would look like a blank screen. But I think if you wear special glasses, you could actually 3D glasses, you could see what or polarized glasses, that's what it is. You could actually see what's going on. That's over at Lifehacker, so check that out there. And then let's move over to the Daily Tech. Apple's planning an Arizona-based plant for glass manufacturing. Where I'm actually going to Tucson, Arizona, so I'm not sure how far Mesa, Arizona is from Tucson, but they're going to start with glass, what they're calling crystalline glass, and it's going to be in sapphire glass. Wrong one, sapphire glass. It'll be in Mesa, Arizona, that they'll be creating it. And I guess that's what's used in iPhone cameras and the Touch ID sensor. So all that stuff will be made in the United States, and it's part of Apple's initiative to pull things back into the United States, made in the USA. So we feel a little bit more happier about our products, and I don't know. I'm glad that they're moving back to the United States. I understand, sometimes going overseas makes more sense, and less cost, even with shipping over, to make something. So that makes sense. But I don't know. What do you think? Do you think that this is going to be the pilgrimage to the United States, or are they just kind of putting in a couple things to make people happy and make them think that, they are still a United States company? Let me know. Twitter me at Geekazine or geekazine@gmail.com. All right. Moving on from there, we're going over to Ars Technica. Google's finally hiding passwords from snoopers in new builds of Chromium. So, and you're saying, wait a minute, they didn't hide the passwords before? Well, I guess there was a practice that they had where they made saved passwords visible in plain text. So if you let your friend use your computer, they could actually see what that password was. So now they've kind of set it up so it doesn't happen that way. You got a new way to protect all your passwords. If you type in Chrome Chrome / flags into the address bar, you will find an option where you can enable it. So if you want to check that out, go over to arstechnica.com, and of course we'll have the link in the show notes so you can do that. But it's Chrome. It's like HTTP : / except it's Chrome : / flags, plural flags, and that'll get you into the area where you can enable the password generation on Mac, Windows, Chrome, Linux, OS. So pretty cool stuff. Yeah, check it out, arstechnica.com. All right, finally, Target has got this great little program. If you need to, let's say you have an old iPad 1 and you don't use it anymore, well, trade it into Target. They're going to give you a $200 gift card, no matter what the condition of, well, I'm guessing if you crumpled it into a little ball, they probably won't accept it. But you give them your first generation iPad, they're going to give you a $200 gift card to spend at that store. Now, you could buy a new iPad, or you could buy all your Christmas presents for your family. $200 goes pretty long way for your families. So, and of course, that would make an iPad Air from $499 to about $299, $279 with the $200 gift card. So it's pretty interesting that I'm not sure how they're making money off of that. If this is just a feel-good effort, getting you into Target for the holiday season instead of going to Best Buy or Walmart or something like that. But it's a great thing. If you've got an iPad, first generation iPad, $200. I mean, if you went up on Gazelle right now, it's not even $200. My iPad fourth generation is $250 on Gazelle, which is ridiculous. So this is a pretty good deal, especially since iPad 1s are pretty much, can you put apps on the iPad 1 anymore? I don't know. Anyway, it great stuff. If you're looking for that, go over to Mashable.com and go from there. And that does it for this part of the show. We're going to get into the main subject where I'm going to talk about the FAA. I always say FFA. The Future Farmers of America have said, hey, yeah, you can let those devices run even when we take off. So I don't know why the Future Farmers of America are letting you do it. But, hey, I don't really care. So as long as it happens, we're going to talk about that next. You're watching Geek Smack, the more weird version of it using different software. We'll be right back. For years, flight attendants would tell you you had to turn off your phone completely, not just in airplane mode. I personally like to listen to music as I take off, and I normally put my earbuds in because it kind of helps with the sound around me. But it would always suck that, when they say, okay, you got to turn it off. It's like, I don't really want to listen to music. I have it in airplane mode anyway. Why do I have to turn it off? But now that's all changing. There's a new rule out there that basically says, hey, you can actually use these devices as long as they're in airplane mode and they're not sending out cellular signals, or you can use them and during takeoff and landing. So, but there are some caveats to that, and we're going to talk about that now. Let's start with the obvious. If you have a big, bulky laptop that needs the tray table down, you're not going to be able to keep it running during takeoff and landing. If you have an iPhone, if you have an iPad, a Kindle, other e-reader, MP3 player, even my Google Glass, I'll be able to keep on while the plane is taking off, and that is cool. The FFA did it again. The FAA states that the device could possibly impede evacuation, then it will not be allowed during takeoff or landing. So a laptop basically would qualify for that. An iPad or iPhone can either be put into a pocket or placed in the seat pocket in front of you. Now, I'm guessing that there's also going to be new termage the airlines are going to put out, including the words "not our responsibility." So basically, it's not the airline's responsibility if during takeoff something happens and you drop your iPhone. Next thing you know, you've got a cracked screen. It might be obvious to some, but somebody's going to try to buck that system. Now, the FAA also said that you may still be asked to turn off your device if there's any possibility that it could impede a flight. Now, this is most likely in emergency situations, like if the plane enters into a really bad storm, the pilot might go over the air and say, "Hey, you need to turn off all devices so nothing interferes with our instruments, so we can get you to your destination safely." It's a small price to pay for your safety. And I would do it. It's basically it's nice to listen to music. Oh, don't get me wrong. I'm glad that they're doing this and they're letting me listen to music or podcasts on my phone or tablet during takeoff. It'll also be nice to play a game that doesn't require a cellular or Wi-Fi signal while we're making it up to 30,000 feet, and I can turn on a Wi-Fi signal through their services. I'll also be able to legally take pictures and videos of Madison, Wisconsin as I'm flying out from Madison. And it's such a beautiful sight. Plus all the other airports, just being able to get those quick videos and pictures. That's going to be awesome. And that'll definitely load up into my camera and onto my drives with lots of pictures and videos. So I'm really excited about that. Now all I need is a set of peanuts and a drink during takeoff. Now I'll be all set. I think they called that first class. Anyway, what do you think on that? What do you think about the FAA's decision? You think that they took way too long to figure it out, or they did it's great timing, or whatnot? Let me know. You can Twitter me over at Geekazine. Geekazine@gmail.com is the email address, and 608-205-4378 is the phone number. You can contact me anytime on that, anywhere. All right, well, this has been a very interesting version of Geek Smack, and I'm gonna see how this Boinks TV actually ends up with the video. Well, it'll be up on YouTube. It'll be up on the regular channels, audio and video versions, so you can check it out wherever you get your version of Geek Smack, where you get your Geek Smack off on. Does that make sense? Anyway, my name is Jeffrey Powers. Thanks a lot for watching. Thanks a lot for listening. Thanks a lot for putting up with me as I went crazy this last 40 minutes. We will see you we won't see you next week. I will be in Tucson, Arizona. I will be back in 2 weeks with another episode of Geek Smack. So you guys geek out until then and take care.